Good afternoon.
Welcome,
For some of
everyone.
you, it might be 2:30. For some of you, it might be 1:30, depending if you're a panhandle person or the other part of the state. Welcome to our premiere edition of The Boardroom, ACE by TSK, Association Community Education. I'm Jeff Solomon and our gracious founder, Lisa Rosenthal. Lisa, how are you?
Hey, Jeff, and welcome, everyone. I know it's very kind of you to say I'm the founder, and I guess of this iteration I am.
Well, by blood.
But we give Terry credit for being founder. We give her that title. Um, some of you know Terry, and some of you don't. But Terry is my mom, who started TSK marketing back, I don't know even how many years, I guess 8 years, 9 years ago,
Yeah.
something like that. So
Yeah.
we've
And
been Ace by TSK for almost 4 years now.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute. And I know Terry was supposed to be here today, and she was on some of the promo materials that many of you may have received today for this event. But something came up, and hopefully we'll have Terry with us at a future event, future webinar with us.
Absolutely. Just a
Um,
conflict today that couldn't be avoided.
so, folks, what I want to mention to everybody is we are going to open it up. This is going to be informal discussion about some of your real world communication challenges as board members. And I know there's some managers here too. And before Lisa goes over some of those guidelines on what we would like to hear from you and what we are going to kindly ask you to not do, I just want to mention that the first part of what we will address some of the questions you submitted when you registered. So that'll be the first part. Then we will open it up to questions from the audience and some interaction. And Lisa, you want to take it from here and talk about the guidelines and how it's going to go?
Absolutely. So
Sweet.
this is going to be a very informal discussion, unlike our accredited courses where we're basically, you have to pay attention to course material and there's a lot of information being given. This is really intended to be a peer learning experience for all of us. Best practices, what works, what doesn't work, how did you solve for this problem? Because while we all are coming from the same issue, different perspectives, different communities, HOAs, condos, co-ops, the problems are the same. And we thought it was really valuable to put this time together on the calendar once a month for all of you to come together, for us to engage with you. Jeff's going to change, I'm going to ask him to change the format of this Zoom call. So right now it's on webinar mode, which I really can't see any of you, and you all just see Jeff and I. But in a minute, we're gonna convert this to the ability for all of us to see one another. I think that's a better way to have this conversation. So just some of the ground rules, like Jeff said, we're going to ask you not to mention your community by name, not to mention the vendor you might have a challenge with by name, no names. We're just going to really talk about the problem, the challenge, and the solution. So we're not here to shame anybody. We're not here to call anybody out. We are not here to, speak ill of anyone. We're here to kind of share our challenges, collective challenges, and collectively solve for those problems. And even some of our business partners that might show up to these calls, um, they have their own challenges working with board members, right? Imagine you're a business partner, you've been on a property for 5 years, and the board changes every year. You have somebody different, and you literally start over. Even though you know the property well, they start over with the interaction and with, setting expectations. And so I'm going to ask you all to please refrain from naming names of any kind, including your own if you so choose. You're welcome to just use your first name.
So I'm going to interject for a second, Lisa. So what I'm going to do is Lisa just mentioned that we're going to bring everybody in so that if you choose to, you can enable your cameras so we can see you. So it's going to likely say for everybody that you are being invited to come in as a panelist because that is the best I can do right now. So I'm going to promote anybody to panelist, and it is up to you whether you want to accept that or not.
Oh,
If
okay,
you
that's great.
so if you folks accept it, you'll be able to come in. You'll be able to enable your mic, and we can see you and hear you. That kind of a thing. So let me. I'm going to do that for each one of you now.
And then the other thing is, we will take questions, and we're going to have open dialogue. So I'm going to ask you to use the raise hand button, which is on your Zoom bar, right? We're also going to limit questions like, so if somebody's conversation is extensive or requires a more personal individual conversation, I might ask you to please take the conversation offline, and we'll address it and see what we can do to help um, offline. So it's brand new, and we're all going to find a balance here, and we're excited. We're excited to create the space for all of you.
And I see several are declining, and that's fine. It
You
is
don't have
totally
to show your face.
totally your
100%.
choice, everybody.
Arthur, welcome. We're happy to have you here.
In fact,
So,
let's do it this way. Anybody who wants to be promoted to a panelist, raise your hands. Just hit the raise your hand button one time, and that'll be easier than me going to everybody. All right, let's see here. Promote to panelist. Peter, Martin, Trisha.
Kimberly, Pat, great.
Okay,
Thank
so
you. Hey,
anybody
Ilya.
else, just let me know. Peter, you declined, even though you have your hand up.
He changed his mind.
Yeah, it's all right. We're allowed to change minds.
Changed his mind.
All right.
Ilya and
Hey,
Trisha,
Martin. Good to see you, man. You are muted, but we see you.
yes. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to start out by going over the questions that you all submitted to begin with.
Yeah,
And then for the folks that are here that have chosen to be panelists with us, um, if you have a thought or something to contribute, raise your hand. And in addition to the answer we have for those questions, we'll add your voice and your thoughts to the discussion. How's that, Jeff?
sounds good.
Great. So you want to share your screen and get
And
started?
we are open to change, folks. If you think we could be doing this in a better way, let us know. We'll be sending out an evaluation to everybody tomorrow morning as a follow up and a thank you for attending. So, our first question that was submitted during registration, and I want to mention too, a lot of you registered today for this event versus registering previously in the previous few days. So, you might have submitted a question if you registered today, so it will not appear on here. So if it does not appear on here, you can raise your hand or you can type it into the Q&A, however you choose to do it. But one of the first questions that we received is what's the best this made me chuckle. What's the best way to get rid of two corrupt longtime condo board members? And aside from making a snide remark or a funny joke about what I've seen in the movie Goodfellas, which is what you do not want to do to get
Oh
rid
my
of corrupt.
goodness.
You do not want to go in that direction. That's just a joke.
Jeff,
Just
we have to start off without Goodfellas.
yeah,
We have
let's
to
not. We'll
start
not bring
off.
Lisa. I'm funny how? Funny how? Do I make
Uh,
you laugh? Do I make? All right.
yes,
Am
all
I
the time.
amusing to you? So
Always.
so um so let's talk about this. The and remember anything that we say today. I am not an attorney.
Right.
Lisa's not an attorney.
No.
I am a former manager. I am a former large scale community association administrator. Okay. I've done all that, but I have lean in the Q&A. But
Yeah.
remember, anything you hear today from any of us should not at all be considered as legal advice or anything remotely resembling legal advice. We may quote a law. We may say the law says this, but we will not be interpreting a law on what we think it means. That is the job of an attorney. Okay.
100%. And,
So,
you can always find an attorney at our in-person events.
yeah, I
We
know
are
a couple of good
very,
ones.
Yeah, so we're very supportive and blessed to have KBR, K Bender Rimbaum, be our legal partner. And they have attorneys at every one of our in-person events that
Right.
you can always ask good questions to. And they do a variety of their own events, both virtually and in person that you can attend. So you can go to
Right.
KBR's website and sign up for their communications. They're always a great resource. But just to add to the fact that I am not an attorney, I do not play one on TV either. But I am a board member, happen to be board president at the moment of my own HOA. But in New York, I was also a board member of my condo, not condo, co-op in New York for many years. So I have a little experience uh, sitting on a board, making changes. When you have, my own opinion is that when you have long-standing board members, um, the biggest challenge is to unseat somebody that the community is so comfortable with, but may not understand what the problem is because it's not really been communicated. Um, Go ahead, Bruce. Uh, Jeff, all you.
Oh, no, no. Let's go through this together. It's the absolute first thing that should be done is most folks are not familiar with their own association governing documents, let alone state laws. So you're going to want to go through all of those, correct, Lisa? It's something I know you did
100%.
as a board member.
So here in Florida, being one of 7 states that requires a license for CAMs, right? Community Association Managers. It puts a different kind of spin on being a board member and following state statute because the CAM has to follow certain guidelines, right? And they're licensed by the state. So the state takes a greater interest than in other places. So specifically for Florida, board members, you can lean on statute and guidelines that the state uh, uh, puts forward. And as most of you know, those guidelines change regularly. It's why we do a legal update every year. There's always a legal update, but statute changes regularly, language changes, and just the legislative sometimes puts rules in place. And then there's unintended consequences, right? So they go back and they change them. They try to modify them. They try to fix them. Look what happened after Surfside, right? So many things change, but there are a lot of unintended consequences that they now are fixing. So if you are a board member and you are looking to replace folks that you believe are corrupt, the thing is, again, if you have proof, that becomes a legal issue, and I encourage you to speak to the association's attorney um, for legal guidance on what and how to step through that. If
Absolutely. Step four should actually be step one, and then the rest of it follows.
and then if you find yourself where you are thinking that that's the circumstance, but you can't prove it, again, if you try to hold board members accountable to uh, statute, right? So goes back to your governing docs, like Jeff said, and he has here, and state law, the statute for condo is 718, or I thought that was 719,
Condo is 718.
18. What's
718.
what's 19?
Condo is 718, cooperative, and then you got
Co-op
HOA, which
719.
is 720.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Um,
But the
so
thing that most people don't, that everybody misses, and again, we're not interpreting law, we're quoting it,
right.
understand that members can be removed with or without cause. So this is whether somebody might be corrupt or not. So that's something that a lot of people fail to realize. Lisa, I just want to throw that in there.
Sure. Well, why don't you explain just a bit how that happens in many circumstances? Because while you say go back to your governing docs and what state law suggests, removing with or without cause, removing board members is still a big undertaking.
No, it's a huge undertaking, corruption has everything to do with it or nothing to do with it. You could have a board member that never shows up, doesn't seem interested, doesn't give a crap about the association, doesn't make decisions, it's not influential. Basically, why the heck did the person run in the first place? You know, so those could be reasons why you may want to remove somebody from the board as well. All right, so don't be a board member, bored. Be a board member. Okay, keep from getting bored. So the way to do it would be you'd have to gather signatures. I don't want to just read everything, but you'd have to
Right.
gather signatures to make this happen on a petition, and it must clearly state on the petition what the petition is about. You cannot try to deceive, because then you're the one being corrupt. You're the one trying to fool people. You don't want to do that. Then, of course, everything falls into place with properly noticing the meeting and the proper vote. But when it's all said and done, always contact your association council to make sure you're doing everything properly in the first place. Because if you don't, you're going to end up having to spend more money later to rectify everything. And who the heck wants to spend more money, especially in today's climate where, collections are a thing, right, Lisa?
Elections are a huge thing, and if for those of you that are board members, um, I mean, you could put this in the chat, but how many of you have seen an increase in delinquencies, say in the last 6 months?
If
Anybody?
I had two more hands, I'd raise two more hands,
Right.
but I've only got two.
So, and then with every
Oh,
delinquency,
here's the third hand.
here's the third hand.
Can't
Yeah.
really see it, but yeah, it's
Where are the puppies? Where are the puppies?
we have a
They've
bunch of
got
people.
more
We have four people raising their hands now that they. So anyway, point taken.
So we all want to minimize legal expenses. Nobody really wants to get into recalling a vote for a board member to remove somebody. Like that is really have to be really egregious.
Yeah. Rebecca has a comment. What if the corrupt person is on the board because nobody else is running? I mean, this is where you can get your, consult with your manager as to how situations like that have been handled in the past. See what your bylaws say with regards to getting unseated seats filled. But again, contact your association counsel because even within the same law firm, and I can attest to this, even within the same law firm, not every attorney in the same firm is going to interpret the same law the same way. So get the opinion of your association counsel that's representing you at the time. I hope that makes sense. Rebecca, I know it doesn't really answer your question, but there's no magic bullet answer to that question.
But Rebecca, if I'm going to make the assumption for the moment that you're a board member, um, being a board member, I would think you know quite a number of people in the community, and part of it is just asking for help. Asking
Yeah.
for, would you serve, even if it's for a year? I need your help, right? It's a remarkable thing what happens when you actually ask for help and be pretty transparent what you need help with and why. You'd be
Yeah.
surprised how many people say, okay, I could do it for a year and this is what you want. And just be transparent. I mean, as board president, I have to tell you, my previous board, they resigned. They really didn't want to work with me. They were pretty unhappy that I ran to begin with. Um, but I went to people and said, I need your help if we're going to rebuild this and we're going to fix all the things that are wrong. And people were pretty aware that things weren't going well, but I don't think they realized to the extent that they weren't going well
Yeah.
until we started to fix things. So I did. That's exactly what I did. I just went to people and I said, look, I need your help. And even if you can give me a year, you know, I anticipated it would take 2 years to fix a lot of the things that needed fixing. Um, so that's what I did. And I would suggest to you that there are more good people in your community than not, and that if you ask sincerely for help, they would step up to help. Um,
Yeah, that's fantastic advice because amongst the dozens of meetings that I moderate, for boards throughout the state.
Mhm.
I hear quite often when there are people in the audit members speaking out or speaking up against the board, and you get some of these board members that will say, "You don't like it, then move out, move somewhere else." That's a typical response that we hear,
Yeah.
unfortunately, way too often, instead of the board member reaching out to the people saying, it's a decent point. It may
It,
or may not work here, but let's talk about it. Maybe you want to join a committee and offer some more input and advice on how we may be able to do things a little bit differently. It's kind of like um, it's kind of like a the subjectiveness of a piece of art. We're all going to look at the piece of art differently. Or for example, creation of Lisa, you and I were talking about this the other day, creation of a publication, for example. And what you and I might love as aesthetically pleasing because we think it's great, it may
right.
not translate well to the demographic or the audience. And it may, even though it looks fantastic, it may not work for who is receiving the information. So,
Look, I don't think as a board member, I can honestly say if I get 60% of the community to understand and appreciate what we're doing,
mm,
they still may not like it,
right.
but understand it. I
Yeah.
feel like that's a great success.
Be
And
transparent. Explain why. Explain
well,
why you're doing
you,
something.
you know what's interesting about that? So I can explain why all day long, and Jeff, you know me for a very long time. So you know I love to chat. People don't want the explanation, right? They certainly don't want it at a board meeting because it's too much time. Get me in and out of here, right? I've had people say, enough already, move on. And then I have to explain that I'm sorry, sir or ma'am, you're welcome to stay or go, but this meeting is the business of the board.
Yeah.
You're welcome to sit, listen, and ask and speak at the end, but this meeting is specifically for us to do our work, right?
Oh, does Elizabeth, you have your hand up? Well, just enabled your microphone. Do you have a question or a comment? You can unmute yourself and join in if you do have a question or a comment.
So we'll just go back to transparency. The transparency of the board is so critically important. And when you do that, you have to be prepared for questions. A lot of time, going back to the person who said that they want to get rid of corrupt board members, when you do that, be prepared for the people in the community that don't feel the same way about those people to
Right.
question everything you do. So you have to be prepared to answer questions and to share with transparency the why. And even when you do that, it doesn't mean you'll get anything less than a hostile response. And my response, Jeff, going back to what you said, is always, it would be great if you'd like to participate, right? My the last board meeting, somebody was very unhappy and, behaved badly at the board meeting. We had to remove them. But they really don't understand, right? They don't understand the work that's involved in even just evaluating one vendor's contract, right? The evaluation of contracts is a huge part of board responsibility, right? Because we obligate the community to spend money on services. And those services, the quality of those services impact everybody. So if the quality of the pool service company is not good, people have a dirty pool. And if you have a community that is loves their pool, you're going to have a lot of blowback if you don't choose the right company. And the same is true for all of the services, whether it's guards or fob systems and gates, and I mean it's endless. If you don't vet your contracts and you don't vet your vendors, you're going to have a lot of blowback from your residents that they're very unhappy, especially if you remove and replace vendors that have been long-standing in the community and you're replacing them because you know the service can be 10 times better, right? But people are comfortable. People don't like being uncomfortable. They don't like change. So no matter what you do, you're never going to please everybody. But this part here about board members, really important to make sure that you're prepared to be transparent and you're prepared with communication that is specific, factual, and that everybody has access to. It's my best advice.
All right. That's
You
good
want to
stuff.
you want to move on?
Yeah. Let's see what the next submitted question was. And the DBPR rules requiring a noticed board meeting whenever more than three board members are present or a majority creates a number of issues. So, what this person seems to be asking is, what if you're getting together what if a quorum of the board is together and you're not discussing business? Or you just want to do some training, or you're discussing evolving issues or doing research so that you can present something to everybody at the board meeting. And this comes up all the time. And this is something that
Yeah.
I know that a lot of attorneys cannot be on the same page about.
I was
There are
going to say
some
that if you
attorneys
ask
that,
five attorneys, you'll have five opinions. They all feel differently about this.
yes, there are some that will swear by take it very literal. Like if the majority of the board is having dinner together, no good. If the majority of the board is just out there playing bocce ball together, no good. But
And then there are
the,
folks that have different feelings about that, and it boils down to the content of the conversation. So this is one of those things, Jeff, we're going to push everybody back to their attorney on because everybody has a different opinion. And I want to make sure everybody gets the advice of their own individual legal counsel, not our opinion.
well, Evelyn, if I'm mispronouncing, I apologize. We're not saying you cannot go for dinner at a restaurant, social. We're not saying that. What Lisa just mentioned, you just talk about these situations with your association counsel. When I was a manager on the field, we had the opinion of our counsel at the time. And again, what I'm going to say now is what we did. It doesn't mean it's what you should do. It doesn't mean it's the right thing for you. But what we were told that we could do is, as long as we are not making decisions and approving things at that moment, it was okay. That's what we were told at the time. All
That
right.
was from your legal counsel
That
at
was from our legal counsel at the time.
So I've had
Because
three different attorneys in my community in the last 18 months, and all three of them have had a different opinion on this subject, right? So I'll give you an example. We have a board that comes into one of our in-person breakfasts, right? They all sit at different tables. They're there for education. They're there for information. They choose not to sit together for breakfast, and they're all at different tables. And this way there's no inappropriate appearance of them having conversation and discussing anything. They're all there for education and training. That happened last month. I suspect it'll happen this month as well with our legal update. Like on Monday, we're in Boca. We have a legal update in Boca, right? Especially when it's a legal update, the whole board wants to come. They want to hear it. There's no decisions being made, and they're there for education. But again, I'm not an attorney, Jeff's not an attorney, and even our own attorney on my property has different thoughts and feelings about this. I suspect, Jeff, even within KBR, attorneys have different thoughts, right?
I'm
You,
not,
okay, we're
yeah,
good.
no,
We're
all
good.
joking
We're
aside,
good.
yeah, I mean,
We're
um,
good.
the answer is highly likely yes. That can be the case.
Yes,
So
and
it's
part of the thing is that board members, especially if you do what I just suggested, where you ask people to participate on the board, board members know each other, and if you have a functioning board that is reasonable, meaning they're not, embattled constantly. You don't have to agree with one another, but at least you can have civil discourse and you can have a civil discussion and hear one another, right? Those boards tend to be the most effective boards. They're also people that tend to know each other, right? So there's a lot of different environments where you could turn around and say, well, a board of seven, there's four of them,
Right.
they're playing tennis together. Well, I don't know. Are they talking about the board? Are they talking about board issues? Are they making decisions? They're playing tennis. They're on different sides of the court or pickleball. So I think you have to go back to your own attorneys,
Right.
and I think you have to use common sense and good judgment.
They're taking their tennis rackets, and every time they smash the ball, yes, vote yes, vote this way.
Oh,
So let's see what the next question was.
yeah.
How do we find a website provider? This is a hot topic right now. How do we find a website? Because for condos, they have
Right.
for
A
25 or
hundred.
more units, they got to have the website by the end of the year.
How
So
many,
how do
how many, how many units again, Jeff?
25 or more?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, 25 or more by the end of the year. And if you're an HOA, you have to have had it by the beginning of this year. So how do we find a website provider and what has to be on the website? So, well, let's talk about the first part of it first, which is how do we find a website provider? And let's talk about the things to some resources. So groups like this, like when you go to the ACE networking breakfasts and lunches and social hours, which we may do one day, things of that sort, like my subtle little hint. So the um, you could find a lot of resources through networking groups, not only the sponsor vendors that might be participating, but speaking with your peers. Who are they using?
Well, Jeff, you have
When
a resource, and I'm happy to let you share.
what's that?
You have a resource. You are a resource, and I'm happy to let you share. So you want to tell folks?
Oh, we
Put it
can
in
help
the
you with
chat.
that.
Put it in the
Yeah,
chat.
just you can put it in the chat.
Just put a link in
So,
the chat. But it's not just that. Why don't you, if you don't mind, go over a little bit about what's required and why the website's so important? Because it's not pretty pictures, it's not a landing page. There's very specific certain requirements why they made this mandatory.
yeah, that's the second half of this person's question.
Right.
So aside from these resources, your networking groups, management firms, publications, and resources, sometimes websites have the developer's name at the bottom. It's always best if your development team has experience in this industry versus a website design company that might be have a specialty in retail
Right.
stores. You don't want them building a community association website necessarily. So let's get to what Lisa mentioned. So we're talking about the most important aspect of any website for a community association, whether you need one or not, would be the documents and record keeping aspect. Because even if a website is not required, now that's shrinking. Almost everyone's going to be required
Right.
to have one, is the way it's looking like eventually. But even if it's not required, it can help increase the productivity of your management company and your staff and your board because you would train people to go to the website for this, that, and the other thing. Hence, less phone calls coming into the office, less interruption of your work time, less interruption of your committee time if you're training people to go to said website. Okay. But I don't want to read these verbatim and we'll be here all day. We can share these afterwards, but the person did ask, what do the websites have to have? So for condominiums, we're talking about things like the declaration, the bylaws, the articles of incorporation, the rules and regulations, your budgets, your financial reporting, certifications of the directors, so on and so forth. Again, I don't want to go down this list verbatim. This is something easily Googled. You can look at it on your own online, just see what's required. Same thing for HOAs, similar, but slightly different in terms of what is required. Lisa,
Yeah, can we send this slide with the survey at the end of this
the
for
slides are
folks?
going to be shared with everybody who
Great,
attended. Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So
So
you
you'll
all,
all get this.
great.
You'll all get this. If you have any questions about this, please put it into the Q&A. If you have any questions at all about the website requirements. But the biggest thing to take away from with the website is the compliance aspect. Anytime you go with a to have your website done, if it's not with somebody who knows the business like the back of their hands, you want to get the compliance side of your site done first. Worry about the pretty stuff later. If you're
100.
having a website done where you are also going to want to use it to market your community or have homes for sale or amenities or whatever, a photo gallery, that can come later. Worry about the compliance side first. Worry about the side that can get you into trouble if somebody chooses to report you. Okay? Get the compliance side done first. Then you can focus on all the pretty stuff. Hope that makes sense to everybody.
Anyone have any questions or any other questions about that?
Let's see, there's something in the Q&A. Now, Eveline, I see your hand is up. I'm going to lower your hand. And let's leave it now. Anybody who raises their hand, we're going to take that as a sign that you want us to enable your microphone and you will verbalize a question like you're on a radio show. So if you want to speak, you can raise your hand and we'll enable your mic and you can ask a question. So let's see the
I want to
panelists.
address James if you don't mind.
Yeah, so Trisha has her hand up. We'll get your mic enabled in just a second. Lisa, take a look at James's question.
Yeah, so James, when I became president of my HOA, there were 27 committees. I also changed management companies, and every management company I spoke to was blown away when I gave them that number. Some of the committees hadn't been active for a very long time, but I'm only sharing my own experience with you. I brought it down. We now have 9 committees. And even the 9 committees, I don't have a lot of participation, right? But in those 9 committees, I do have a handful of people, right? The problem with a lot of committees that I have found is that residents take it upon themselves, or were in my community, to make decisions about vendors, they weren't just vetting vendors or bringing them to the table for the board to evaluate, they were actually engaging with them. It became a problem. Committees serve to support the community and the board and help offload some of the heavy lifting, right? Do a lot of research, bring best practices to the table, bring new vendors to the table, come up with ideas. They're a wonderful part of all communities. But when they become so emboldened that they are counterproductive to the board function, then you have a problem. I will
If,
say this just because this is probably in your bylaws. Again, I say I'm not an attorney, so please look in your bylaws. My bylaws say, and in most bylaws you will see, that all committees serve at the pleasure of the president. So
or the board.
the board, the way it's, depending on how it's languaged and worded, and Jeff is right and I am right, and any version of that is right if that's how it's languaged in your docs. So go back to your docs and review what your language states, so
Yeah.
you know what you can and can't do with your committees. I'll give
Lisa,
you,
can I
yeah, go ahead.
on what you mentioned? A big part of that problem is that the committees are not properly they're not always properly defined. They're not always properly explained to the committee members about what their roles and responsibilities are going to be by the board. They just say, okay, you're on the committee, have at it, go, do your thing, come back to us with stuff, if with ideas. So if it's not defined from the beginning what the committee is going to do, then it could open up to a plethora of what you just mentioned, like just confusion, power that really isn't power, things of that sort.
So 100% true. And there's also a really big difference between committees and clubs. So I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but committees, committees are under, again, the guidelines of your community, your association, your docs. Clubs, also, they're different. They operate outside of the HOA condo uh,
Governance.
docs, right? But they need permission by the HOA or condo to exist. So sometimes, especially if there have been people in place for a very long time, they forget those nuances, but those nuances
Yeah,
are very important. Um,
absolutely.
Clubs tend to pull resources from your HOA and condo staff. And if the staff has not been explicitly trained to work exclusively on HOA condo business, um, they can get lost in club activities that have nothing to do with their job description. So it's important that you have clarity, that your board have clarity, that your community has clarity, that your clubs and committees have clarity, just like Jeff said. Clubs have doctrines that they run by, charters that are written that describe the club and officers and um, committees. You can disband a committee in 30 seconds by making, sending one email saying we're ending this. So again, I encourage you all to go back to your own docs and your legal counsel to help you navigate what may be happening in your own community.
Yeah, James, especially for that word you used in your question, you have the word required in there. Talk with your counsel about what's required. Most associations have an ARC committee, the architectural committee too. So, in terms of what's required, that's a question to ask your counsel and have it jive with what your documents say.
Right. And the ACB or ARC, however your community frames it, in many documents, they are their own board, right? So it's not really a committee. They have committee members that are under the ARC or ACB, but they themselves tend to have their own board. And again, go back to your docs, go back to your own um, legal counsel for specific guidance on your community and your docs. Um, but most places, and I believe Florida statute specifically separates them so that there's a separation of power between the board and the architectural review
So, hey,
board.
let's get to Trisha's question here. Trish, you can go ahead and unmute and you have a question or a comment?
Actually, I have two. One, for the website, is it a website for the residents only to be able to get this, or is it a public website that people can investigate stuff on the condo before they buy?
I'm glad you asked because somebody has that also a question similar to that in the Q&A. The when we talk about the required side, the compliance side, that's the password protected side that would be visible only to the members of the association. Some associations also have a section that they allow renters to look at, like there might be certain forms they need to fill out as a renter or a leaser, somebody who leases a unit.
Correct.
When we talk about the public side, okay, that's the side where you don't need username and password to access and view. And
Correct.
that would be the side that side is not required. It's not something you have to have. It's associations choose to have it because maybe they use it to help market their community, or maybe they want to have a section on there for businesses in the area, like amenities, where are the local parks, things to do in town. Maybe they're
Correct.
selling parcels, maybe they're selling units on there.
Right.
Maybe to raise ancillary income for your association. Maybe you have banner ads from a local pizzeria on the front that can help pay for your website, you know? So a plethora of reasons. And what I've even, as somebody who has designed websites for associations, there are some associations that take anything that's public record, okay? Anything that anybody could look up, whether they live there or not. They don't put that on the protected side. They'll put that on the public side, like certain association documents that are public record that a lot
Correct.
of associations put on the private side. They're putting on the public side because anybody could access it anyway by going to the state record. So why bother? Does
Right.
that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, because I'm in real estate as well. So that's my point. So I'm on the board, but I'm also in real estate. So because there's a lot of condos that do have split. Some that they don't do the financials.
Right.
That's private, but then they do all the rest. Our the one in my condo is such a mess. I can't find it, you know. And in being in real estate, unfortunately, we have to kind of when we list a property, we have like 48 documents that we have to provide to the buyers.
Yep.
So that's a lot. And it is there's no organization with this. They just throw things on. And I'm just like, hunt and peck, try to find all of the stuff that I need. But anyway, then I have a comment on you were talking about the committees. This is my third year being on the committee. I was
Are you still
VP.
smiling?
Uh,
We can't tell,
yeah.
Trisha. Your camera's off.
You know what I love? I love serving my neighbors. I do. I get frustrated because I'm not. Okay, I was VP the first 2 years, and my job was to get committees together. And I think that we should have a property committee. You can name it a ARC committee or whatever you want to call it, but it was um, a property committee so that they could look at the vendors' proposals and what have you. I will tell you, I'm pretty smart with a lot of stuff, but when they come up with a lot of these different words and what have you, and we cannot, I think a property committee would protect us, the board, of having people that know. Because I had 5 people, they were either developers, contractors, property managers, or whatever on the committee, and they loved doing it until the president at the time overrid them, if you want to know. And she went and paid $80,000 more for the roof than what all 5 of these guys said. So they said, forget it. I'm not working with you anymore. And so
Hmm.
since then, quote unquote, that president and now this president, they're saying committees don't work. So we have gotten ourselves in a jam many times after the fact. Then we go, oh, shoot, we screwed up. You know, so I think a property committee is priority when you're on a board. When
What
you,
about your other board members? When they submitted all the proposals, you say she chose the most expensive or,
well, she talked to all of those and they all agreed except for myself. And so when I did not agree with her, then from there on, I basically got put on the back burner,
yeah.
basically saying you're not a team player, I can't trust you, you don't go with the board, so I'm not going to share any information with you. So therefore, so I sat on the board first 2 years and basically kind of twiddled my thumbs. I thought I was going to do better on this board, but it didn't work. Same thing, same person, basically,
So
same
it's
person.
interesting that, I mean, I don't want to dig down it specifically into this, but there's so many parts of those contracts. And I try to explain this to my board members. It's not always it's not always the right
It's not
thing to
about the
hire,
price.
right, to hire the cheapest person.
Exactly.
My big thing is hiring competence.
Correct.
And what does that look like? And when there's somebody that's so far off the mark, that $80,000, if it's a $3 million roof, that's uh, a margin I could live with because it's a small percentage. But if you're
Well, it was an $800,000 roof and she went
okay,
for 880. They both had a 20-year warranty. It was
mhm,
a difference between a TPO roof and a fiber tight roof. They both
okay.
had a 20-year warranty. Insurance is only going to give you what, 17, 18, maybe 19 if you're lucky. So 20-year, 20-year, save $80, 80,000 kind of made sense to me, but Anyway, that's kind of a personal thing, but I'm just saying, I think
Yeah.
committees are important, and I've been on quite a few committees, and we had a structured list, like you're to get information, or you're supposed to bring this to the, if you tell people what you're supposed to do, then, your committees can kind of stay contained, but I don't know.
I
But
think that's
neither
what
one
Jeff
of them,
was,
they don't want any committees. They don't work, quote unquote, they don't work. So,
I think that's what Jeff was saying is if committees have structure and format and the expectations are set properly, then they can work. They can work beautifully if they work with the board. Part of the problem, I think, with all of this, whether it's a committee, whether it's the board, and when it comes to projects, capital improvements, or new contracts, annual contracts for things that are ongoing, being able to hear one another, respect one another, right? Ask good questions and get reasonable answers.
we don't
Help,
get
right? Help.
questions answered.
I often say, help me understand why you feel that way,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if the, like my last board meeting, the person, I'll just give you an example. We had a board member, we're a 7-person board, and we had a board member that the treasurer spoke to before the board meeting to answer all their questions. They spoke to the property manager and answered questions. They spoke to another board member who does security and answered questions. And every board member asked that they spoke to, do you have any questions that I didn't answer? Are you comfortable with the answers I gave you? The treasurer spent hours of their personal time helping this board member answer their questions and help them understand what they didn't understand about the budget, right? Because most of us just came through budget season. And his response to everybody was yes, 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 and then stood up at the board meeting and asked all the same questions publicly and told the board that it's his responsibility to ask these questions publicly, even though they had been answered, even though board members had spent countless hours personally with them.
I
Then,
know. I
and
just
then,
feel dysfunctional.
right, well, we'd encourage residents not to wait to board meetings to ask questions. Ask your questions. We'll answer
Mhm.
them, right? Communicate with us. It's all good. But if you wait to a board meeting and you're going to use profanity and you're going to,
Correct.
be angry just for the sake of being angry and you don't want to listen, that's not a productive way to have a conversation with anybody. And ultimately, we are all neighbors, right? The
Correct.
value and financial stability of the community is important to all of us. So this isn't a you problem. This isn't affecting one homeowner. It's the board is making decisions that affect all homeowners. We're all residents who sit on a board. We're all impacted when the community financially suffers. So I always try to help people understand that there is no benefit to being the problem. Be part of the solution, be part of the conversation, bring up good questions. Maybe the board didn't think of that. Maybe
I
the
know. I
board,
tell them, I said, listen, come to me with with a problem, but come to me with a solution.
100%.
You know,
Absolutely.
I
And even
think
if
our
you
main
don't
thing
have a
is lack of
solution,
communication,
even if
lack
you
of
don't have a
transparency.
solution, come with an openness to have a discussion. You don't
Exactly.
have to solve the problem, but come with a willingness to have the conversation so we can come up with the best solution together. Because,
Correct.
and the answer we all have as board members today is going to be different 6 months from now,
It might be, yeah.
Yep.
right? So anyone in that's listening, if you're a parent, it's something I used to say to my kids all the time,
Man,
which is this is the decision I made today, given the information I have, and I reserve the right to change my mind given new information.
Mhm.
Board members, it's exactly the same. We made the best decision we could given the information we had at the time, and we can change our mind given new information, right?
see, Trisha, you
Yes.
said you're a realtor, correct?
Yes.
I wish more realtors were like you in the sense of Part of what I see moderating and teaching so many of these classes that I do for the firm is that a lot of, and I don't see you doing this. I see you doing what I hope for. I see a lot of realtors not informing their clients about what the buyers are potentially getting into. They're not educating them enough as to, hey, you're about to potentially buy a property in an association. When you go in an association, this is what happens. I don't think there's enough of that knowledge out there. In your experience as a realtor, do you feel that realtors are not educated enough, present company accepted, because it sounds like you are, but are realtors not educated enough about the community association world, in your opinion?
Uh, you see, I guess I'm different. And I will tell you, when I got on the board the first time, there's a few people that are all up in roar that tried to get me booted off the board because they thought it was for my own benefit. And I'm
Mm,
like, no, uh, it's not for my benefit. I've lived in the building for 30 years. I probably sold probably over 100 units, many of them are 3 times.
yeah.
Um, but no, I don't. But yeah, when I go as a realtor and I go sell another building and I talk to the realtors that are in that building, they have no friggin' clue. I do research in a lot of buildings before
Yeah.
I even list a property.
No, that's great. And that's what I meant. I didn't mean your building specifically. I meant
Yeah,
uh, in general, realtors in general. I
no,
was
they,
wondering if you felt that maybe they don't do enough research like you do to
right,
learn
correct.
about associations before putting a potential client or a buyer in an association. Like, for example, where I live now, no HOA. The back of my backyard. My wife is an herbologist, certified herbologist. So we have weeds. We have all kinds of stuff she uses for medicine. All right. But if
Mhm.
we were going to sell this place and move somewhere else where there is a community association, and our realtor uh, said, "Hey, I have this great place in a planned community, got a huge backyard. You can have all kinds of weeds and grow medicines back there and do whatever you want to do," not realizing that your grass is only allowed to be, yay high if it's visible from the street, and you can get a violation for that. Well, our realtor didn't tell us that. I mean, so that's what I
Yeah.
mean. I wish there was more intertwined communication between community association managers and realtors. They should be doing things together, in my
It's
opinion.
very difficult. Do you know how hard it is to get a manager to even answer your question or to fill out the SIRS and the MERS and the milestone?
Yeah, yeah,
Very difficult to get them. And then if you are on the other end where you're helping to find a place for your buyer to buy, it's very hard to get that information from the management because it's a lot. I want 12 months of meeting notes. I want 12 months of agenda. You got to have all of the SIRS, the MERS, the MARS, all these different
yeah.
things. And, I lost a deal because I couldn't get a
All right.
question and answer,
No, I hear you. Well,
you
Tricia,
know.
I appreciate you. We both appreciate you so much for contributing, and we're going to get on to the next topic.
I appreciate you answering my questions.
You've got it. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for participating.
And
Thank you.
before,
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
and before we get to Pat, let's just get to the next slide real quick, and then we're going to get Pat. You're next, I promise. I just want to make sure we cover the questions that were submitted ahead of time, um, because so
There we go.
this one here is, can
Yep.
associations mandate the down payment percentage of a buyer who is buying real estate via a loan? Some associations require a 20 or 25% cash down of the purchase price. Is this legal? So the minute I saw the word
Hi,
legal, I
Lance.
said, I'm not touching that with anybody's 10-foot pole. So I contacted one of the attorneys at the firm and this morning, and this is straight from Alan Schwartzide over at our Orlando location. And he said, I am not aware of anything that prohibits this as long as it's supported by the declaration. As a rule standing alone, it's not supported and likely unenforceable. But if the declaration provides the authority, then it's likely enforceable. That's why you got to go to your association council because they can interpret what the law says. So, and with that said, Alan is going to be teaching guest restrictions class and screening on December 8th, and you can find that on kbrlegal.com's calendar. So hopefully that answered that person's question. Thank you, Alan, for that. If you're in the audience, I'm not sure if you are or not. And then the last, before we get to Pat's question, Pat, I promise we're coming next to you. I am confused about our education requirements. As an HOA board member, can I take any classes I want? The law says yes, but when I ask some of the vendors, they say no. So, yeah, I put this "Are you confused yet?" icon on there because it is confusing.
Yeah.
And the answer is yes and no. All right. So, as an HOA board member for your CEU classes, continuing education, some of you need 4 a year, some of you need 8 credits a year, depending on the size of your association. You can pick from any class you want. That's the yes part. The no part is those classes that you are picking from have to be approved by the DBPR for HOA board member continuing education. So that's why it's a yes and a no answer. All right.
Jeff, would you go over the number of the size of the community, number of
The
hours?
yeah, in a sec. Yeah.
Okay.
The provider must initiate that approval process. Okay. So just because a class is approved for CAM credit doesn't mean it's approved for HOA credit. It's not automatic, and it's not the same office that does the approving of the class. Now, to answer Lisa's question, I just wanted to get that point out because, Lisa, I'm easily distracted, as I mentioned. So, I'm very
I
easily
to
distracted.
hold
That's
you
why I
back.
got the dog out of here before starting today's webinar. So, if it's under 2,500 parcels, aka homes in your HOA, it's 4 CEUs a year. If you're over the 2,500, it's eight. You need 8 credits a year. Why? I have no idea. Why I'm going to make a size matters joke. I don't know why size matters in this case. My HOA is bigger than your HOA, so I have to take more credits. Don't know why, but it is what it is. Now, these courses are typically going to be covering financial literacy, record keeping, fine levying, and notice and meeting requirements. There are other topics. You can basically take any topic and make it fit into HOA lifestyle topics, like what should an HOA gym have? That could be an elective class. And then lastly, if you're a condo board member, this is the easy one. Again, that makes no sense because condos are much more complex than HOAs. Condo board members only need 1 CEU per year, and that is going to be centered around new condo legislation annually. Okay, I promised we'd go back to Pat before the last couple of slides. Pat,
Yes.
you can unmute,
Yes,
and the floor
I
is yours.
do.
Sorry about all that. We just wanted to get
Oh,
those last
please.
couple of slides done.
No big deal. I wasn't sure if I could even join, so I was one of the last minute joiners here.
Sure.
We're happy
Welcome.
you're-
It was nice to hear Trisha. God, there's so many things I could go on about that, but yeah, I appreciate what she has to go through. I'm just a board member. We are rewriting our governing documents.
Mhm. Are you still smiling?
Challenging. I'd like opinions, or if somebody has anything out there where the big controversy or the biggest hurdle, I guess, is to figure out here. Right now, we do not allow pets. We are only a 48 unit, 6 building complex, so we're not huge. But right now we don't have pets. We're trying to, it's a big controversy. So I'm just wondering, the best way, we've already sent out like an opinion poll sort of a thing. We have a 5-member committee that we've been working on now.
There's that C word, yeah.
So, and this opinion poll went out, and our secretary, we had between that secretary and myself there was some wording issues, and yes. So one is prejudice one way and one is prejudice another. Let's just say
Sure.
that. So what
Okay.
is the best way? So we're at the point now where we've finished. We had our legal rewriter do their thing. And now with this particular option. We sent out a survey with 4 options, pets, no pets, indoor pets only, no, no way either, no, didn't care one way or the other. So what is the best way to go about this? They're trying to say like, okay, we're going to put this document out there with, I guess, this option 1, which says pets. Well, I don't know if that's the best way. Do you have anyway, to make a long story short, what's the best way to move forward in getting it out in the community? To have a town hall?
I have some questions.
Go ahead.
If you're open to a little discussion.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know if this is issues with anybody else here, but whoa.
well, I think the pet issue is a big deal. It's a big deal all over the country, not just in Florida. And Jeff can tell you about endless programs that the firm does regarding emotional support animals.
Yeah, we have a class just on that.
Exactly. And not just emotional support animals, but the service animals. They're 2 very different things.
The FHA, the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
Right. And
I'm very aware of all these.
right. So I have some questions for you.
Yep.
Do you find in the community now, because you said you're a small community, you're only 48 units, right?
Mhm.
So do you find now that folks have pets that they have claimed as service animals or emotional support pets?
We have a dog that's a service animal, an ESA or service animal. They provided the papers, fine. We have a smaller dog that's grandfathered in.
So what was what prompted you to want to address this issue?
What
Because
prompted
going forward,
what prompted the community?
Right.
well, because we're rewriting our documents, first of all, and we've had a few amendments, but nothing that great, and we really need to get them updated. They haven't been updated since 2002. And we were on the verge of getting this moving, and then the Hurricane Ian came in. So then
Yeah.
that all got stalled out. But this is what's prompting us here. I know it's a big endeavor, but this is what we're doing.
So the pet issue, are your residents asking you to allow pets or requesting
Yeah, what
permission
prompted
to
the
get a
whole
pet?
thing?
So again, this is always a contentious issue because some people want pets, some people don't want pets. Some people bought some people bought knowing we don't allow pets and they wanted to.
Valid point.
Now some people are trying to sell. Trisha might be able to input here. And they're
Mhm.
saying, well, if you need to resell your condo, it's very difficult if you do not allow pets. And that's an issue.
If I may interject, what are some of the reasons? I think where Lisa's going with this
Oh, sorry.
is don't apologize.
good.
Don't. This is great conversation. The thing to pay keen attention to, again, now I'm putting my hat back on from when I was on the field at the large scale property. Okay. What are some of the reasons you're getting that are against pets? Because what I would propose, you would take some of those reasons that are anti-pet and come up with potential solutions that can help solve some of those concerns. Like, for example, we're not apples to apples. The community I was the administrator at was almost 600 acres. So again, I know not apples to apples, but maybe you're a smaller association. Maybe you don't have a lot of grassy area and people don't want to have to dodge doggy doo. All right.
Pick up.
So maybe, pardon?
You got to pick up.
Right.
Well,
So
yeah.
again, where I'm going with this is, and this is where some of the creativity comes in. This is things that committees can talk about, or with your manager, or what have you. But for example, this is how I've seen it handled in other places to help get past those obstacles. Okay, so maybe you put up a poo station, with the bucket,
The
some
bag.
bags. Now there's a cost for that. I get it. But what I've seen some of these other communities doing, they put a little placard on there that this poo station is sponsored by, we'll go back to that pizzeria, that local pizzeria down the street. They're paying
Right.
to have their little advertisement on top of the doggy do station, and boom, there you go. You have a pickup station to pick up the dog poo, replace bags at no cost, no extra cost to the association because you're having it subsidized by the little
Well, that's a
pizza
good
place
idea,
placard.
for
I mean, that's
sure.
just one example of several,
Yep.
but that's where Lisa's going with this. Or what are some of the cons against this that you're hearing?
Um, Noise, what if you're next door to, a dog that barks,
Those are guidelines to pet ownership that you can put in
yes, we
place.
will, in the rewrite, there is like, I think, 8 or 9 different things that,
Yeah.
one dog under 25 pounds, not that any board member, and I'm not gonna be the one to go out and say, oh, well, your dog weighs more than 25 pounds.
Well,
Let's
in
get a
And those small
scale.
little yippy, those small dogs usually bark a lot more than the big dogs.
That's
yeah, but it's
correct,
not
I
about that.
know.
It's not about the yippee. It's about, and then you have to be concerned about restricting breeds of dogs, right? And
Yep,
different things.
Yep.
So just 2 thoughts for you. I don't think that with 48 units, you need to do a whole town hall about this. But I
okay,
would put out a survey and I would list some of the pros and some of the cons. And these are the interests and the concerns from some of our residents. I would put both sides out and I would 2 options, yay or nay, right?
okay,
And I would put the language in of, we just saying that we will have guidelines, there will be guidelines to pet ownership. I mean, no different than residents who disrupt the peace in the community. You don't get to live here if you're creating,
yeah,
wreaking havoc on everybody. So I think I would do that, and that's just my own thought with only 48 units. But the other part is, I will tell you, like Jeff mentioned, they have courses specifically for this because it's such a problem in some communities. I'll just give you an example. In my community, we have one dog under 25 pounds, just like you suggested. What happens when somebody comes in and there's 3 people in a house? And just giving you a real world happened
yeah,
to us example, made in the entire community and my board crazy. The people came in, husband, wife, and an adult child. They had 2 service animals, not service animals, emotional
yes,
support animals.
yes, yeah.
And then the third person claimed their dog as a pet. So the pet and
Oh
the
my gosh.
emotional support animal are different animals. So I just give you those guidelines so that anybody who really wants a pet, I'm not saying that Trisha would ever advocate for this. Makes me crazy when realtors do this. I'm not saying Trisha, thank
No,
you.
well, we do take 2 pets up to 25 pounds each in our building. And pet
Yes,
buildings do sell faster than non-pet
Of
buildings.
course.
a
Yeah.
I
hundred
know.
percent, a hundred
I,
percent. But if a building hasn't had pets and they're gonna convert to that, they have to know some of the things that happen,
Yes,
right? That
there's pros and
they
cons.
think they think that they're allowing 1 pet and then they end up with 3 in one
Yeah.
unit,
well, we
right?
will
So-
have that restriction. We have, on the committee of this rewrite, we have put in, like I said, 8 or 9, 10 different things, only one dog and maybe one cat, 25 pounds, so, and they have to be licensed, they have to have et
All the
cetera.
shots, the whole 9 yards.
And
Yeah.
they have to come with pictures and it's part of their application. All of that's great, but you can't stop a emotional support dog.
That's true, I know,
Right? Or
yeah.
a cat. And then that animal has nothing to do with the one that you're allowing. So
Oh,
that's what I'm trying to say is that the one that you're allowing, the pet, has nothing to do with the emotional support animal. Listen, the scenario I just gave you.
Yeah. Service dogs cannot be limited either. So, oh,
No,
somebody just put that in there. Yeah.
yes, the service dogs wear a vest. Those are trained very differently. They're service animals for a different reason. Anybody can go online and get an emotional support letter from some,
Yes.
right? They're very different. The
Don't say that.
service
Don't give
animal,
any ideas out there.
well, the service animals are fall under federal law,
Mhm.
right? And they have to wear a vest and they have a different guideline and they're permitted anywhere. The emotional support animals have different guidelines, but again, I am not an attorney. You should follow up with your community
Right.
association legal counsel, and they can counsel you best.
Is
But
there
there's
anybody, Lisa, is there anybody else on the call today? Anybody in our audience that has gone through what Pat is going through now on a transition? If you have, you can comment in the Q&A
I couldn't
as
get
to
in
how.
the Q&A for some reason, Jeff. That's why I was going to put my question in there, but I don't know. I couldn't do it for some reason.
No, we prefer you speak
Yeah.
anyway, so that this is
Anyway, go
great.
ahead.
But Lisa, sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to get other people's input.
okay. I'm just encouraging everybody to go back to their legal counsel. We've had situations and circumstances that, brought it to our attention in a big way. It was pretty disruptive to the community and their neighbors when they first moved in. And the board was beside themselves. So,
Yeah, and
but
I
there
don't
was
want to
nothing
rush
to
this.
do.
We've come this far and it's taken
Right.
us this long and we've been trying. And so I want this to I want people, like I said, we already sent out an email, a general email, just their opinion. It's just like a little poll or opinion, just like,
Mhm.
yeah, what Lisa said. And we got the results from that. And so, but no one's, it's just by emails. It's just by, no one's really gotten to speak about the pros
Yeah.
or cons. And it's such a, oh God, it's such a big issue that I just wish we could have a town hall so that people could speak. I
Yeah.
think it's important to hear people versus,
Hmm.
but yeah, but I'll try to do something with if we can have a town hall, something about putting something out there about pros and cons, maybe.
I think you just gave us the a future topic for one of these discussions on our boardroom program with Ace. So, this is something we can certainly talk about, and
Well, if you do, and I'll be watching and I'll and
yeah,
I'll
we can
come
get
in
one
and
of
I'll
our
talk about
attorneys to
what
come in.
happens to us.
Yeah, we can get one of the attorneys to give opinions on what he or she has seen. We have a couple of comments. One person wrote, "Behavior limits are permitted for animals and humans." Correct. That's how we control the problem. So, I mean, in that sense, yeah, you have some humans that are bigger violators than.
That can
You'd be
happen, yes.
amazed at some of the emails that I am asked to send for some of the associations that I manage the email platforms for,
Right.
like lewd conduct and going out on your balcony with improper clothing. Let's leave it at that.
Or lack
Well,
of.
basically, lack of clothing is where I was trying not to say. So
Okay.
humans are just as much of a problem as our friendly pets here. And another comment
Pets are
is,
never the problem. It's always the human that is the owner of the pet that's a problem, Jeff.
and we have you're right. And we have another comment. We have plenty of ESA dogs. However, we do not allow dogs as pets. One change we made was to allow indoor pets. This allowed people to have cats, I guess lizards or whatever, which made them very happy, but they have to stay indoors. Now, Pat,
That was an option.
I was going to say this
Okay.
could be, it's kind of like, and this is going to be a bizarre comparison, but go with me on this, okay? Like states that the process on legalizing weed, all right? They start by allowing medical only. Then they move up to a different tier, whatever that is. And then they move up to allowing recreational. All right. So maybe this is the compromise the pro pet people would have to make is start out with just indoor pets, more quiet indoor pets like cats, lizards, fish, that kind of a thing, whatever. And then when you see that that's going well for X amount of time, then maybe the board can then introduce the next step up to potentially allowing dogs. So it wouldn't make everybody happy. I get it. Nothing will ever make everybody happy. Like Lisa said at the very beginning of today's discussion, nothing you can do will ever make everybody happy. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
But this could be a good first step. Start slow and then build your way up.
Or maybe allow the ESA plus indoors. Can we
You know?
compromise?
But there are compromises out there, and I always would tell my staff and my members that the threat is always worse than the execution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you talk
Oh.
about stuff, it always sounds a lot worse than it probably is actually going to be.
So I
But
just
see,
want
as
to,
sorry, Lisa, as a board member, and I've had to go into units when we're spraying for pets. I mean, for pests, for bugs,
Yeah, watch what you say. Don't be spraying those pets.
drain lines, etc. So we have to knock on the door.
Right.
And then, yes, all of a sudden we hear barking from a person that shouldn't have had a pet. It's so it's anyway, I can't imagine.
No,
well,
no,
they may turn around and say that it's a guest,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
My son, my daughter brought their
So-
dog home from college. My son, my daughter brought the dog over just for
Yeah,
the day.
correct. But it's
Right.
scary for a board member if they have to.
Sure. When you're not expecting it,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Anyway,
So
Yeah.
I just want to, because we're going to run out of time in about 3 minutes, I just want to acknowledge Illy and Kimberly and Martin. If there are any questions, comments, or contributions you'd like to make, feel free to unmute yourself.
Yes,
We'd love
please.
to hear from you.
And Lisa, typed questions that didn't get answered. I promise I will answer you by email if we don't get to your question, if you typed it in. I promise you that. I will do that.
Okay. Illy?
Yeah, it was a very interesting conversation, and unfortunately, I cannot add too much beyond what was explained properly. But definitely, it's an open area, and everything we do in a community needs to be reviewed and obviously done on the legal side. And you can't please everybody, because
Ever.
as we know from experience, people have their own ideas about how they want to live their life, and sometimes it contradicts everything that a community stands for.
Well, I think the only thing we can do is hold people accountable to the law, right? To statute, what the state requires, and then what our docs require. Everything else, that's either civil or it's not. And people either choose to work together because we're all neighbors. I tell that to people all the time. I'm your neighbor, right? I don't want to do this much longer. Would you like to take over? You could be on the board, you know?
Yep.
But I do think we can hold people accountable as board members, even just as residents, holding the board accountable to follow Florida statute, whichever statute you are, you fall under, whether it's condo co-op, HOA,
Yeah.
and inclusive of that is holding the board accountable for our docs, right? What are our governing docs say?
So, excellent point.
Elizabeth has her hand up.
Yeah, yeah, Elizabeth, hang on just a half a second. I already enabled your mic, but just hang out a second. Peter put a comment in the Q&A, which is a great comment. I'm at a library, so I cannot speak. However, I think the pros and cons is a good approach. Note that some people may have purchased based on the restriction. Absolutely. Also, the more you add, the more you will experience. Absolutely. Finally, take note of the sales rate in the community. All excellent, valid points to consider, which is why there is no one magic bullet answer for any of this.
100%.
All right, Elizabeth.
Hi, first of all, thank you so much. You both are brilliant, and thank you for sharing all your knowledge. And
Thanks for joining us. Thank you.
yeah, and thank you for the answer of the 20 and 25% if it's legal or not. I'm a realtor myself, so that was always a question. And if it's not in the declaration, obviously cannot be enforced. That's a lot of information. I think I'm on the board of directors of my association as well. And one of the things that I expressed to the other board members and also to the community is we're here to serve the community. And as Lisa is saying, you're my neighbor. So I'm
Right.
trying my best to give you my 100% with my knowledge and my skills. But the community have to understand that 5 people or 7 people or 9 people are there for the corporation. Is a
Right.
business, is a nonprofit business, but in the meantime, is a business that have to be conducted as such. And so once that I think people understand that we're doing things for the business and follow the legal part of whatever statutes are telling you to follow, people are a bit more comprehensive, you know. And like you were saying before, realtors have to educate people, hey, you're moving into a communal area. This is not going to be just your desire, it's going to be everybody else. But I think educating also the community that this is a business and we're conducting the corporation of our community, it makes people a little bit more, I don't want to say forgiving, but more inclusive.
I love that statement more than you know, because when I first took over, that's exactly what I said. This is a business. It has to be run like a business. It has to be accountable like a business. You know, at the time I said, you know, we had over $200 million worth of real estate, you know,
Right.
X number of millions of dollars budget, X number of millions of dollars in assets. And that's what it has to be. You have to understand this is a business. And I think I got a lot of backlash for that. As much as some people said, you know, I never thought about it like that. You're absolutely right, Lisa. And I did get some grace from some people, but it also turned what the previous board and many residents that were friendly with them, who had been many of them owners for a very long time, they were frustrated and upset about that because for them it wasn't a business. It was their community. They ran it a certain way. It had a certain feeling to it, right? But it was also very exclusionary to new residents and new people coming in and some of the new challenges and problems. So it was definitely a difficult transition, but I appreciate your comment more than you're going to ever know.
Well, I want to piggyback on that comment because, by show of hands, who's familiar with this movie? Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Raise your hand if you're familiar with this movie.
Yes.
All right. This scene, who knows? All right. This scene is an illustration of community association life.
Oh my God, Jeff.
When Spock was about to pass away, all right, he went behind the chamber where he knew he was going to get radiation poisoning to save everybody else on board so the Enterprise can escape a planet that was about to explode. What he said was the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one.
And he sacrificed himself.
And that is community association living.
Yeah.
Because when you move into an association where you share many things,
right,
not everybody's going to be happy with everything. And sometimes you have to sacrifice things that you don't give a you know what about.
Right.
But the majority do. And yes, Brenda, it was no, it was Spock. Spock was the one who went behind the chamber and Brenda, I lose a lot of debates, but this is one I'm not going to. I'm such a science fiction nerd. But
Jeff, I just want to be respectful of everybody's time because it is approaching top of the hour.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody for showing up, for participating. And I'm going to ask you a favor. Jeff's going to send an evaluation. We really would appreciate your honest feedback. What we did well, what we have opportunity to improve upon, what you would like to see, discussions you'd like to have, anything at all. Just be respectful. Jeff and I really would love to hear from you. So please, when you get those evaluations, be honest and open and share whatever thoughts you have. It's a brand new space for us, and we really want to make it work for all of you.
Jeff, can you repeat that needs of many? I want to use that.
Oh, yes. I'm going to repeat it. And I know Lisa has to run, but
I know.
but that does, yeah, I'll hang out for a second. But yes, the needs of the many
Yeah,
outweigh the needs of the few
outweigh.
or the one. And Brenda, you're correct in the sense that it was in the newer movies with Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto. I'm talking about the original 1982 Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. That's where they recreated it in the newer one that you're referring to. So that's I think that's where it comes in. And before we head out, I'm going to quickly go through the last couple of slides, and I'll be quick. You don't have to stay if you don't want to. Brenda, do you want to? Do you need to say anything? I just enabled your mic. No. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Brenda. No. Okay. So the last couple of slides that we didn't get to because we had such great conversation is the use of, we're talking about communication and where a lot of confusion comes in. This term, the HOA acronym, is thrown around way too loosely. Okay. And what I mean by that is you'll have people who live in a condo or a co-op who say, hey, Joe, Sally, how much do you pay for your HOA? Obviously, they're referring to what do they pay for their monthly maintenance costs? What are their monthly assessment fees? But try to get out of the habit of using the acronym HOA for everything. Even managers are guilty of this. There are people on here like William and a few others who know me from moderating some of the KBR classes and teaching as well, that I have managers sending board members to the wrong class. They're sending condo board members to an HOA certification class and vice versa. Oh, I got you, Brenda. Don't worry about it. So if you live in a condo, refer to everything as a condo. If you live in an HOA, refer to everything as HOA. Cooperative, cooperative. Try not to intermingle. That just lends to the confusion that's out there. Okay. And then the last slide that I had today, which was another frequently asked question and submitted during registration regarding the use of email and electronic communication. Following up with a phone call is a lost art. Okay. You send an email, you don't see a response for days, you kind of forget about it, and then it just goes unsolved or undone or unaddressed. Follow up with a phone call. Not enough of us are checking our spam and junk folders. You as board members, when you receive association business, official association business via email because you opted in for it, it is your responsibility, not the management company, not the manager, to make sure that you are able to receive these emails. So you are the ones that need to be checking your spam and junk folders, your other tabs in your inbox. Like, for example, Google Gmail has several different tabs in your inbox. Sometimes things end up in a different tab. It is your responsibility to look for it. Okay. Let's see here. Short phrases. When you write emails to people, you can, even from owners too, Brenda, with regards to emails, just emails in general. Emails in general. Check all your different tabs, your spam and junk folders, because sometimes things just are there. The person sent what he or she or they said they sent, but you're not seeing it, likely because it ended up somewhere else than where you're accustomed to your emails ending up. Okay? Now, another thing about emails, short phrases, short answers can be misinterpreted big time, especially from my attorney team over at K. Bender Rembaum. Attorneys are some of the busiest people on earth, so that when they answer emails, they're answering them in 2 or 3 words sometimes. Yes, this is correct or whatever. But when we interpret these short emails, we're going to interpret those based on how we're feeling that day. Why is that person being so short with me? Are they pissed at me? Did I do something wrong? So, and on the other side of the coin, long emails, long novel type of emails could be ignored because they're just too damn long to read. So it all stems back to the art of communication. Make a phone call, craft an email that is going to get somebody's attention, but also not have them sitting there for 3 hours trying to read your email. And be mindful that if you receive a short quick 3 or 5 word answer to an email, it doesn't mean they're pissed off at you. It doesn't mean they don't want to be bothered. It just might mean they're having a bad day. It might mean they're busy and just trying to get to as many emails as possible. So just keep stuff like that in mind. It doesn't mean that the world is ending. All right. So with that said, if we didn't get to any of the your question in the Q&A, I will answer it if I'm capable. If it's not legal in nature, that kind of a thing, I will personally respond to you to your question via email. So with that said, everybody, have a wonderful rest of your day. Great weekend. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Brenda, you're welcome. And we will see you the next time.